Hello, welcome again to the Daily Mishnayot. Welcome back. We took a long break, but now we're up and running, and we're going to go strong. So, our learning should be in memory of Lenny Spodek, Leilu Nishma, Yehuda Lei Ben Yisrael, and we should always learn for his neshama. Okay, so we finished the discussion of the Shema and its blessings, accepting God's sovereignty over us, and now we're moving on to the prayer and certain laws concerning the prayer, what time we may begin, what time we may end, the different prayers we say. And, okay, so this is the fourth chapter of Brachos, and let's get right into it. Okay, so the Mishnah states, Tfilat HaShachar ad Chatzot. So I should first tell you that the Mishnah is going to go into the laws of prayer, as I previously stated, and the Torah itself has a verse that tells us the certain times. It doesn't tell us the exact times for prayer. It alludes to by certain words. It tells us in the morning that we pray in the morning, but it doesn't exactly say when does morning start, when does morning end. There's a debate between these key words. So also the Torah doesn't state a specific obligation to pray. However, we base it off the obligation that we, in the times of the temple many years ago, we actually brought sacrifices to God. And it's interesting to note that these sacrifices, God is our sole provider, and He provides everything for us. And these sacrifices are just like taking the things He gives us, like certain animals, and giving them not as appeasement, not to say, God, you need this, but as like our things, like some form of appreciation for what He does to us. So for these sacrifices, our prayers that we do nowadays take the place of these sacrifices. So there's a debate about which time these we're allowed to start our prayer. Okay, so Tfilat HaShachar ad Chatzot. We may pray the morning prayer until midday. So that means that there's 12 hours in the morning, right? There's 12 hours in the morning, 12 hours at night, and these hours are seasonal hours, meaning that they change depending on how much daylight we have and how much night we have. So the morning prayer is halfway into the daytime. That's the first opinion. That would mean that the first opinion holds that we may bring the morning sacrifice also when we had the temple, in the temple era, until the midday. Rabbi Yehuda says, Arba Shah. He says that we may pray until the fourth hour of the day, and that would mean that he would hold that that we may bring the sacrifice of the morning also until 4 hours into the day. That's the last time. It's also interesting to note that in addition that the prayers take the place of sacrifices, prayers were also said by our patriarchs, and this also is one of the reasons why we pray nowadays. So Tfilat HaMincha. So that's the end of the discussion about the morning prayer for this Mishnah. Tfilat HaMincha the Erev. So the Mishnah continues. We may daven the afternoon prayer until the nighttime. And the night in this sense means the emergence of 3 stars. There is like a twilight zone that we're not between, we're not really sure if it counts as the emergence of 3 stars. We're not supposed to say it then. So basically the law is that we say mincha, which is the afternoon prayer until sunset, but the Mishnah states until the emergence of the 3 stars. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad Arba ad Plat HaMincha. So Rabbi Yehuda says until this is plag is considered. So first, before I discuss Plat HaMincha, I want just quickly go into a discussion about there's a difference, there's a separation in the afternoon itself, different parts of the afternoon. So there's something called mincha ketana. It's like the smaller mincha, and mincha gedola, like the bigger mincha. So what these basically mean is that the afternoon is divided into 2 segments, and the first portion, the first segment, is called mincha gedola, or the greater mincha, and it begins a half an hour after midday. and lasts 3 hours after that. So it lasts until 9.5 hours into the day, right? And the time remaining, so 2.5 hours left, is considered mincha ketana, the smaller mincha. So right, so the reason for this division is, as we said, that the prayer takes the place of the sacrifices, and the afternoon sacrifice. There's a concept that we want to do the mitzvot commandments that as fast as we can to show our love for God and our want to do His commandments. However, in this sense, we were to bring these offerings, these afternoon offerings, later into the day, and mincha ketana, which is the smaller mincha, which is the one we just discussed, that is an hour and a half into the day plus 3 hours, so it's 9.5 hours into the day until the end of the day. So the thing is, we would bring the afternoon sacrifice at this time into the later portion of the afternoon, and this would be because there are certain personal sacrifices that one might bring. There's certain personal sacrifices as Thanksgiving offerings to God, for example. Maybe chas v'shalom, God forbid, one committed the sin, and he would bring a sacrifice. And so all these sacrifices must be brought before we bring this afternoon offering. So that's why we bring the afternoon offering later into the day. So Rabbi Yehuda states that we may daven the mincha until plag mincha, which is the midway point between beginning at mincha ketana until the end of the day, because in reality this is actually when we actually brought the afternoon offering, not at the end of the day, but towards the end of the day, until there was 1.25 hours of the day left. So Rabbi Yehuda disputes the first opinion, and the deadline is until the end of the day, and he says that no, actually we actually brought the sacrifice before the end of the day. Okay, so right, and there's also an opinion that states that the reason that Rabbi Yehuda holds this way is because we bring the incense at this time, and also the afternoon prayer corresponds to the incense. It corresponds to when we bring the incense, which to God to show our thanksgiving for Him. So additionally, this wouldn't only affect the time that we end our recitation of the mincha prayer, the afternoon prayer, but it would also affect, because after the afternoon prayer, it's the time to begin the evening prayer, which we'll discuss soon, that once the afternoon prayer ends, that's when we begin our evening prayer. So it would also affect the time, the start of the evening prayer. So let's go on in the Mishnah, and okay, fine. Tfilat ha'erev in lakeva. So the evening prayer doesn't. Okay, so the evening prayer doesn't have a set time, and this was because the evening prayer, there was no evening sacrifice in itself. So the evening prayer corresponded to when we would burn the remaining limbs and fats of offerings that were offered previously during the day. And the thing is that that these leftovers, as we could call it, they would be burned the whole night on the altar towards God. So the thing is that these leftovers on the altar, they would be burned the whole night, and therefore we could recite the evening prayer the whole night. Additionally, in lakeva, which is the Mishnah's terminology, refers to the fact that there's no obligation to recite Marv. Although nowadays we accepted upon ourselves and we actually took on an obligation to recite the evening prayer. However, the evening prayer, biblically at least, or even rabbinically before we accepted upon ourselves, there's no obligation to recite the evening prayer, and this is because the burn of the fats and limbs doesn't affect the validity of the offering itself. Okay, so we just discussed the two interpretations of the Mishnah's terminology, and So now we'll discuss another prayer. So on the Shabbos and the Sabbath and the holidays, we were in the temple era. We gave an additional offering to God, and it would consist of different animals, and it would be an additional offering. So we also have an additional prayer on the Shabbos, on the Sabbath, and on holidays to commemorate this offering. So let's continue. V'shel musafin kol yom. We can recite the Musaf prayer, which is this extra additional offering that we would offer on the Shabbos and holidays, Sabbath and holidays. And the first opinion states that we could offer this the whole day because that corresponds to we could pray the whole day because it corresponds to the offering, and we must that we could recite the whole day. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad sheva shaot. So Rabbi Yehuda states that we may only recite the Musaf prayer until 7 hours into the day, not 7 seasonal hours into the day, and not the whole day because the offering wasn't actually offered the whole day. And this is why. So that is the end of the first Mishnah. We'll continue on to the second Mishnah. So after completing prayers in the synagogue in the morning, one should ideally study the Torah that God gave us, and we should constantly study. And it's like what we're doing right now, we're studying the Torah, and it's great, and it's God's gift to us, and He's bestowing like greatness as we learn this Torah, and So, after we discuss the times for the prayers, we're discussing what we're supposed to do after the prayers. We're supposed to be learning Torah after the prayers. So, we're discuss a brief discussion of these learnings. So, Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana ha'imitpal b'chnisat levit hamidrash uvitziato tefila ketzara. So Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana would pray in his entrance to the study hall, and in his exit he would also pray a short prayer. So the Mishnah will The concept of prayer isn't only limited to 3 times daily when we request, but however, it's anytime we need divine assistance, we're allowed to pray, and our prayer is such a great thing that anytime we need assistance, we could pray for God's help. So Amrulo. So what he was asked, what is the nature of this prayer? What is he actually saying when he says this prayer? Amar lahem. So he says, the rabbi says, Bichnisati ani mitpal shelo te'ara takala al yadi. So when I enter the study hall, and when I pray that in my making of halachic decisions, in my making of decisions of the law, I shouldn't make a mistake, and then my colleagues who are listening to my decision shouldn't fault because of my mistake. So that's what I'm praying, and so he didn't want them to err in matters of law. And the Gemara expounds on this prayer. And when I exit, I thank God for my portion. So it's very important. It's important that God made us Jewish, right? And God made us special, and we're the chosen people. We're selected out of the world to be role models for everyone, and we're selected to be different from everyone, and to be kind of closer to God in a sense. And we have to constantly thank God for giving us His Torah, and for allowing us to do certain things that the other nations can't. We could request divine mercy in ways that we could get closer than anyone else. So this rabbi is stating something that's very important for us to understand. He says that when I leave the study hall, I'm thanking God for my position, that I'm able to study the Torah and to study the God-given gift that you gave me. And I'm just so grateful for this. And it's a lesson to all of us that we should be so thankful that we're special, and we're selected from God, and we have a special mission, and we should constantly be mindful of this. So that is the end of the second Mishnah, and we'll stop it here for today. Thank you all for studying together. Our studying should continue to be for Lenny Spodek, Lilu Nishma, Yudula Ben Yisrael. Thank you all for learning together.